Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I wanted to do this video in regards to how to take responsibility for your emotional health. I don't think it's any secret today that, emotions are running high a lot because of social media, egos are flared, mental health is continuously on the rise. We're seeing a lot of toxicity in work, corporate work situations and things like that. So, emotional health is really important because the reality is a lot of times people who run life by their emotions, they're almost like a loose cannon. They can be dangerous, whether it's they're running through broken emotions from a breakup or someone gets wrongfully fired at work. We're definitely seeing today that people don't have control of their emotional health. There's a low EQ being emotional intelligence, that people can, do some crazy stuff in this world when they're blinded by their emotions and they're not in check with themselves, from a mindful mental state standpoint, I guess is what I'm trying to go at. So the reality is, we all have to take responsibility for our emotional health. No one can do this for us. It is up to us to change the way that we allow people to affect us, to allow people in our lives who are negative or toxic in general, in addition to allowing ourselves to want to feel happy and whole. Like, most people want to live a pretty joyful life, like a simple joyful life. There are people who aren't. There are a lot of people out there who are damaged goods, who are constantly going to be emotionally up and down, like a roller coaster and stuff like that. But the reality is, the only person who can take responsibility for their emotions is you. In fact, you are the only person that can take responsibility for basically anything in your life. People can be, support systems, but they can only tell you so much. It's you that will take that advice or not in your life and actually do something for it. So, some ways that you can help take responsibility for your emotional health is to let go of what you allow in your life that no longer serves you. So, if you meet somebody and your life was happier before you met this person, whether it's a friend, obviously if it's a coworker, that's a tough situation because, there's a whole logistical standpoint in hiring and firing people from work. But, especially in a romantic situation, if this person is a liability and not an asset in your life, that's a clear indicator that this person probably needs to exit your life, and you are responsible for either breaking up with that person or doing what you need to do, whether you need to unfriend them or block them or just tell them that you're at a stage of your life where you can no longer support this type of relationship, that it's not easy to do, but you're the only person that can be in charge of letting people in and out of your life. So if you're feeling that somebody's trying to pull you away from something, whether that's your relationship from God, whether it's your happiness, a lot of narcissists and quasi-sociopathic people pry on people of the light or people who have energy and happiness, it's because they want to steal the light and the good that's within you. So you have to let go of the people that no longer serve you. This is also situations in your life, or groups or organizations. So I've been in the world of the electronic music, concert culture, and a lot of that is very toxic. It's very drug ridden. People are hooked on lust, basically, in a lot of different ways. And, if that's your main support group and friend group, a lot of those people don't have your best interests at heart. So you might have to walk away from that. A lot of that stuff is very emotionally addicting. And so it's not easy for people to walk away from fun and excitement because they have this fear of missing out on certain, epic things in life. But that's your choice. So you have to let go of what no longer serves you. The stuff that's bringing you down, that trash has to get taken out to the curb, basically. It's like throwing out the garbage. Another way to take responsibility for your emotional health is to understand your hot buttons or your hot zones. A lot of people have a hot button or, some area of life where they get triggered, and that can really bring out, the dark side of you. Obviously, if you have a family member, you probably aren't going to discard them from your life. Some people, they get to that situation where they have to cut out certain family members. I'm not suggesting that. I think it's just if you have conflict management with a family member, if a person never thinks that they're wrong and they're always right, that's a difficult person to deal with, but you have to understand your hot zones. And that kind of couples in with understanding the difference between reaction and reflecting. So a hot button that gets pushed can erupt like a volcano, and that a lot of times is run through being very impulsive. So you have to learn to train yourself to be a little bit more mindful, to think before you speak or react. So there is a difference between reflecting and reacting. There are some people in your life, whether that's like your boss, if you're stuck at a job, or a family member, who are too old to change. They will never change. They will always have this character or personality flaw within them. They might not be self-examining or self-reflecting. And you have to use self-examination to be able to understand how your hot buttons get pushed, how that can be avoided in the future, or to understand what do you need to do to reflect and instead of react. So for example, if somebody is triggering, say you get in a disagreement with a family member and you continuously say 9 times, I already told you this, why can't you remember? It's really easy to go, flying off of your emotions to react in a situation of getting very, angry, especially if the person on the opposite end is saying, oh, you never told me what time I had to be there. And you're like, I told you 9 times. What can you do to react mindfully? You can say, okay, I did tell you this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you now, and I'm going to follow up with an email or a text message with the directions on where to go and what time you need to be there. So that in itself, instead of reacting and bringing out the volcano in you or the volcano out of you, you can sit and reflect for a moment by not reacting impulsively, by sending that text or on the phone saying, I told you this. A lot of times people have to connect to the breath. When in doubt, breathe it out. The breath is the number one source to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest phase. It's the opposite of fight or flight. So deep breathing helps mindful reflections, which will affect your reactions. So take a deep breath. Know your trigger points, know your weak zones, your hot buttons, and know what way can you deal with this person or this situation when it comes up again in the future. Because obviously a lot of people have the same sort of behavior patterns, and this situation will come up again. So in that situation of what I just explained, you can take a few deep breaths and just say, hey, I'm going to tell you again. You have to be there by 9 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and email this and, maybe text message it to them. You have to think about covering your ass type of thing. Like, what would you do at work? You can do that in your personal relationships. So think before you speak. You need to control your impulses, and then allow yourself to experience these emotions. So obviously it's really frustrating when you continuously run into the same, pattern with people. And it's not to just say you should just sweep it underneath the rug, but you do have to look and assess the situations that some people are who they are. They will never change. And if you are self-examining yourself, you can allow yourself to change and grow in the process by maybe this is bringing up some trigger wounds on some of your weak communication methods. So maybe this is an opportunity for you to learn and grow on how to improve your communication, but also to improve on your impulsive traits and how you can better work with humans in this kind of human inner dynamic situation. So just know that mindful reactions are obviously more ideal than just impulsive reactions. So if you're going to react to something, at least do it a little bit diplomatically and mindfully rather than impulsively, because it's almost like when people do things impulsively on both ends, that's when, you're adding fuel to the fire and things never really come to a calm state. They usually just end up in, screaming matches and arguments and stuff like that. So think before you speak, take a deep breath, think about this for a moment. Control the impulse, and then you can allow your mindful expression, your mindful reaction, and then allow yourself to experience these emotions. This is very normal. Allow yourself to go through that wave of emotion. And some people, they just have to hire a counselor to kind of help them deal with difficult people or difficult situations in your life. Or, a perfect example is a man who gets his hot zone triggered, and then he reacts in a very violent way through things like domestic violence. So obviously that is an anger issue that needs to really be dealt with on a more counseling type of situation. So these are just some mild thoughts that I have in terms of how to control your emotional health. Just remember, you are solely responsible for what you let into your life in terms of healthy and unhealthy people, situations, and relationships. And you are also responsible for how you think, behave, and react in certain situations. I really think when people respond very emotionally, a lot through impulse, it tends to drive them. It's almost like, driving a knife into your skin. You're just continuing to dig this wound by being so emotional all the time that you need to learn how to control that. And a lot of that can also come through therapy. So these are some thoughts that I have. If you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions, please post them below. If not, I hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon. And have a great day. See you guys later. Bye.